get the show on the road here. And we'll begin by calling the Cumberland County Salary Board meeting to order and begin with a roll call, please, Audrey.
Commissioner Nieder.
I am here.
Commissioner Fauci.
I'm here.
Commissioner Eichelberger. And Controller Whitcomb.
Here.
Now, in the agenda of the Salary Board, we open it up to public comment. There is no one in the room appearing to make public comment. Is there anyone online, Audrey, interested in making public comment prior to the Salary Board?
Not at this time.
Okay, we will move forward then with the approval of the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 13th.
I'll second. It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next up, the approval of the Salary Board. Any opposed? I apologize. I'm ready to roll, Al. I'm on your train. Next up, the approval of the Salary Board actions.
I'll make a motion to approve the salary board actions as provided.
I'll second. It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I'm voting in favor of the aging and community services position, but not for the children.
Okay. So this continues to be a point of contention for this board. We were recently provided with some updated figures on the cost from the finance department that supports children and youth. And I fail to understand the logic behind not supporting this department. I followed up and asked Nikki to update us on some of the data that she had provided on one of our meetings, because I think the public is probably interested as to why we are split on this decision of support of these services. Intake from prior to COVID, the cases in intake are up 46%, and that's not, it's over 1,000 cases. In-home services are up 119%. That's families that are being supported, over 1,704 families. The children in placement, because of the good activities of supporting more families in the home, has actually gone down 15%. And this is a plan that Nikki had in place. So I am just at a loss for words when I'm seeing statistics, data, and the fact that, again, if every position is full for the entire fiscal year, almost $3 million in salary for around $256,000 of county costs for needed employees to deliver services, how we can continue to have this objection to it.
I think it's weird that the vote is no at salary board, because this is a very inconsistent way of voting on this. Like I've never heard you vote no on the salary board level to this. So I think it's an inconsistent thought, but I'll just put this out again one more time in the universe. Like, which kids have you gone to tell them that they need to suffer from abuse and neglect because you don't think this is worthy?
And additionally, I forgot to mention in our last meeting with Nikki, when she was presenting at Salary Board, she mentioned the ESSA Act, which is Every Student Succeeds, which now requires more of her staff time, more frequent court appearances. So I remain in full support of the activities of the Children and Youth Department and all that they are doing to help families in need, keep children out of foster placement, and to make sure children are safe. So I guess there's a motion on the table, seconded. All in favor? Aye. 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 Your opposition is noted on the item for children and youth. Is there any other business to come before the Salary Board? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned from that. Let's We will roll into the Board of Commissioners meeting and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Great. We will now call to order the Board of Commissioners meeting and we'll begin with a roll call again, please, Lottie.
Commissioner Niederer,
I am here.
Commissioner Fauci,
I'm here.
Commissioner Eichelberger.
There is no one in the room to make public comment. Is there anyone online wishing to make public comment to the Board of Commissioners? If so, please use the raise your hand feature. Audrey, is there anyone indicating they would like to make public comment?
Not at this time.
Not at this time. All right. That takes us into the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. The consent agenda is a list of routine items that do not appear to be controversial in nature, which do not seem to require any additional discussion. If discussion is desired on any of the particular items, and that would be agenda items 4 through 12, now would be the time to request the item be removed from the consent agenda. Hearing none and seeing none, Commissioners, I would request approval of the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, Commissioners. That takes us to the regular agenda, which is a list of non-routine items that will be discussed and maybe acted upon individually. And I'll actually turn the meeting over now to Angela Smizer to cover contracts and grants.
Thanks, Stacy. Good morning, everybody. Agenda item 13 is for Aging and Community Services, and I will call on Kim Winton to discuss these contracts. Oh, it actually looks like I have Christine Bowden here in her stead. Good morning, Christine.
Good morning. Kim had an emergency, so I'm filling in for her. The agreement with the Cumberland County Reentry Coalition, it is to partner with them and the Homeless Assistance Program in networking with community members and organizations to join together and collaborate to support citizens by providing a long range of opportunities for successful living. The second one is an agreement with the Housing Coalition of Cumberland County, is a partner with them with our homeless assistance program and their landlord engagement program. This program is an incentive for landlords to rent to individuals experiencing barriers when looking for housing. Other responsibilities will be to participate and communicate with the coalition and assist the tenants and work with landlords with lease requirements.
Any questions for Christine?
I don't have any, just making a comment that these are agreements to participate. There's no revenue or expense involved. So Christine, thank you for your group and collaborating to bring great stuff for the residents of Cumberland County.
All right, thank you.
I serve on the Housing Coalition of Cumberland County, and I knew this was coming, Christine, and this is an excellent partnership, as is the partnership with the Reentry Coalition.
Agreed.
I will move to approve.
Okay, it's moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us to agenda item 14, and I will call on Nikki Gresh to discuss a contract for the Commissioner's Office.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is a contract for Maranatha, and this is connected to the Human Services Policy Team Fund. If you recall the presentation, utilizing the revenue, the interest from the revenue of the sale of the nursing home. So this is going to be with Maranatha as our third-party vendor for the human service departments to use for one-time needs to support families that cannot be funded through our own programs. We have everything set up. Everything will pass through me and the department heads. We will review it. And we even have all the audits ready so that we'll be able to share with you in the future.
Okay. Nikki, the only comment that I would like to make is a correction that it is only a portion of the interest that is being accrued to that amount of money from the sale, the net proceeds of the sale of the nursing home. And it's probably actually less than 1/3 of the amount of the interest that's being accrued to that account. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions of Nikki at this time? We've gone through several presentations on this. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second? I will second. It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Commissioner Eichelberger stands opposed.
Right. If there's no further discussion on that item, we will move on to agenda item 15. And I will call on Katie Zimmerman to discuss a grant application for the courts and criminal justice services. Good morning, Katie.
Good morning, Commissioners. I am here today on behalf of Judge Brubaker, who is in court this morning. We are applying for a grant from AOPC. It'll be a $5,200 grant, which will cover the time and travel for Dr. Brian Meyer, who is a specialist in trauma-informed court practices. So he will observe our Tom's Court and then provide us very specific recommendations based on how our Tom's Court functions, on how it can function better. So this is a one-time training expense that will be fully covered by the grant if approved by AOPC.
All right, very good.
Excellent. That's excellent.
Any questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Katie.
Thanks, Katie. Great, that takes us to agenda item 16, where we have a contract and grant for the District Attorney's Office, FID, and I believe we have Eric Radnovich online. We also have Sean McCormick in the room if you had any questions.
Good
morning, Eric.
Commissioners. I have two items here this morning for you. I have a contract with a Diagen Qualtrics, which is our quality management software for the laboratory. It is for $18,947.68. And I also have a grant application and acceptance from Norfolk Southern Railway for $15,000 that will help pay for a water purification system for the laboratory.
Any questions for Eric?
I have none. We'll entertain a motion unless someone else has any. It's moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Commissioners.
That takes us to agenda item 17, and I will call on Brenda Eiliff to discuss a contract for drug and alcohol. Good morning, Brenda.
Good morning, Brenda.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here to present a contract with some work that the Commission's been doing for over 10 years, but it's more formalized now. The West Shore School Districts have asked for a pretty detailed memorandum of understanding. Keith was very helpful in getting that together. The school board has signed it. We do a couple, or the last year we've been focusing mostly on vaping programs and then life skills programs. And we'll continue to do that after this is signed, but they've been a great partner for over 10 years. Nothing's changed in the programming other than being updated. So
Very good.
Any questions for Brenda?
No, and I will move to approve.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Great, thank you.
Thank you, Brenda.
That takes us to agenda item 18, and I will call on Bethany Salzarullo to discuss the contracts for elections. Good morning, Bethany.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. Just a few things for you here today. The first is a maintenance agreement for our mail machine and folder inserter machine to keep it up to date and keep things going and running properly with that for Green Trail Solutions. And then I'm also asking for your approval for our mail machine that we need a new lease agreement for that, and also for the folder inserter machine as our leases were up for both of those things.
Questions for Beth?
I'll second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thanks, Bethany.
Thank you, Bethany. I appreciate you also waiting to see if we can use grant funding if it is awarded.
Yes, absolutely. September.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to agenda item 19. I will call on Brent Durham to discuss the contract for facilities. Good morning, Brent.
Yes, good morning, everyone. This contract is with C&Finchie Scholl Architectural Engineering. It's to provide engineered drawings and permit documents that will be required for the MDJ Beckley renovation project. The price of this contract was included previously in the approved capital project request. So I'm just asking for your approval of this contract.
Questions for Brent?
He answered the only question I would have had. Thank you, Brett.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion for approval.
I move to approve.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thanks, Brent.
Thank you.
That takes us to agenda item 20, and I'll call on Mark Evans to discuss the grants and contracts for MHIDD. And you got quite the list today, Mark, so I'll let you get to it.
Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, everybody. We have a list of 8 addendums to contracts today. The first 7 of these are for early intervention. They are all based upon current billing and fiscal year end productions, so they are going to be increases to each contract. The first one is for Christy Musselman. She provides special instruction, an increase of $4,542. Clear Path Pediatric Therapy, LLC. They provide occupational and speech therapies. This is an increase of $29,834. For Connections Early Health Intervention and Supports, we have an increase of $43,451. This is for occupational, physical, and speech therapies, as well as special instruction. For Joanna Carnes, she provides special instruction for early intervention. Her contract will have an increase of $1,917. Leah Blake also provides special instruction, an increase of $12,506. For Matiko Pediatric Therapies, LLC, who provides speech therapy, an increase of $1,342. These are all state-funded contracts. Lastly, we have for mental health for Maranatha Carlisle. This is a contract extension to continue to provide social determinants of health assistance for individuals who have needs such as inadequate housing, food insecurity, unpaid utilities. The purpose is to help individuals maintain stability in their non-healthcare environments so they can achieve better health outcomes. Funding for this contract comes from Health Choices reinvestment dollars. That was for an increase of $108,000, and it would extend the contract to December 31st of 2025.
Any questions for Mark on any of that?
I do not.
I will move to approve.
Thank you. It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 21, I will call on Justin Miller to discuss the contract and grant for recycling and waste. Good morning, Justin.
Good morning. The first item is for our 2025 Household Hazardous Waste Disposal Program. We fund that program through a combination of grant funds and user fees. Earlier this year, you approved submitting an application for registration to the Department of Environmental Protection. That makes us eligible for 50% grant reimbursement. The other funding source we get is from the Department of Agriculture. On February 12th, they announced that each county that wanted to participate would be eligible for $16,000 in funding for pesticide disposal. I have drafted a letter for you to sign that signifies that we will accept that. And then that locks us into using their hazardous waste contractor, MXI. So the total financials, when you factor in the $16,000, I'm estimating all 4 events will cost about $171,000. We will get approximately 88,000 user fees and 86,000 from the Department of Environmental Protection. And any questions on that?
I don't have any. I entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, thank you, Justin.
Yeah, the
And
second.
with that,
Second, I
Second.
have, sorry, yeah. One
That's
more
okay.
bullet there. This one will be quick. This is the annual Act 101, Section 903 Recycling Coordinator Grant. Reimburses counties 50% of recycling coordinator costs, includes salary, benefits, and eligible expenses for the previous year. Estimating the grant award for that would be $61,227.37.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
my apologies for
Thank you.
asking for that. Good work. All right, and with that, I will turn the meeting back over to Stacy.
Thanks, Angela. That takes us then to agenda item 22, which is Commissioner's liaison reports. Attorney, I'll start with you.
Okay, over the past couple of weeks, I attended a number of items, which I'll rattle off here. Attended the CREDIC Harrisburg Chamber Economic Forecast Luncheon. It was very, very well done and very well attended. They held that at the Penn Harris. So it's nice that CREDIC does do business on the East Shore and the West Shore, which we appreciate. On the 19th, Commissioner Fashi and I attended the YMCA's pool pasta dinner and fundraiser as they try and raise funds for their pool renovations. Additionally, on the 22nd, Commissioner Fashi and I attended the coldest night of the year walk with Nikki and her team from Children and Youth to raise awareness and funds for community cares. Additionally, that evening, Commissioner Fashi and I attended a night without a tux with our spouses, which was a fundraiser for Safe Harbor, which does just fantastic work in the county. I had a Tri-County Board of Directors meeting. We also held a planning meeting, which I will provide a few items to update. At the planning meeting, which is a great group of people, they approved a rezoning request from North Middleton Township for 125 acres from R1 to Ag. This is primarily to allow for preservation, and it is prime soils, which is important to us in that program. They approved a farm for 132 acres in Hopewell Township being placed into the ASA program. They approved a new zoning ordinance for South Middleton Township and a rezoning of the Carlisle Plaza Mall, as I know it, from shopping center to urban mixed use for the Carlisle Borough. And that site is approximately 26.24 acres. I would not have known that. Kirk submitted his 2024 annual report. Mary Kuna made a presentation and update on the 5-year consolidated plan for HUD and the Borough of Carlisle. And Kirk asked for feedback on the planning retreat, which is going to be held May 12th. So that is underway. And I believe that's it for the Planning Commission. I also had the CADIC board meeting, but we were all in attendance at that. So I don't feel inclined to, give an update. You were in attendance. The one thing that I will point out that I have requested a 2024 annual report from the executive director. I would like to know, what their accomplishments were for the year of 2024, and I look forward to that being provided. I hope to have it in advance of our April meeting with them, and if we receive it, of course, it'll be shared with all of you. I also attended the CADIC Tourism Committee meeting. They reviewed 2 grants that were deferred from the last meeting and reviewed 3 new grants and discussed the revision of an awarded grant. The actions on those resulted in a mix of some being recommended for approval, one being requested, I believe a couple actually being requested for more information and a declination. As I've stated from the onset, I don't vote on these applications. I do not express an opinion of the application, but I do engage in asking questions related to how the application meets the criteria of the grant program. Ashley Kurtz is the interim director while they seek to fill that position. And I've found her to be incredibly helpful in guiding the committee through this process. She's been with the organization for a while and has great experience with the tourism grants. And the committee had some spirited discussion surrounding the program guidelines and has identified a few items that need to be considered when the guidelines are updated. And that's a project that has been underway for some time, but is not finalized. So hopefully that will be coming in this year. Also, Meal Madness is starting. If you have an interest in following that or participating and voting on the best restaurants in Cumberland County, please please check out their website. And I believe that is it for me.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Fashi.
Hi, everyone. I would remind you to use the Cumberland County Library system. Yes, Kelly and I went to the Pool and Pasta Dinner fundraiser event at the YMCA yesterday. The Red Cross was here, and one of the things we talked about is their lifeguard training. in their CPR training, and the ability for the public to be able to access a swimming pool and learn how to swim is so important. I'm so glad the Y is moving forward with either a renovation of the pool or some kind of an expansion, but what a great thing to have in the community. I attended the Capital Region Economic Development Corporation monthly board meeting, and Kelly could not make it, so I went to that meeting. What a group. They really have it together, and their financials were done so nicely and explained so well. I was incredibly impressed with them. That was a good meeting to get to and to see how they work. Cumberland County Housing and Redevelopment Authority, their meeting was last week. So CDBG applications are currently open. Still open. So if you're interested in a CDBG grant, time to go ahead and finish your application up. The Whole Homes program, there were 2 properties that are going to receive dollars from the Whole Homes program. I don't know if you remember this, but the Whole Homes program is designed to assist people who need repairs to their home that otherwise would not be able to afford to make those repairs. This is an excellent home, or an excellent project. New roofs, new windows, things that are really important. Heating, yes, things that are really important to people. The Housing and Redevelopment Authority wrote a letter of support to DCED for the PA Small Business Development Centers and their proposal to establish a business assistance service center serving historically disadvantaged businesses in DCED's central region of Pennsylvania. So that will be another good thing coming our way, I hope. I attended the Wildcat Foundation Gala, their fundraiser. It's the Mechanicsburg School District, their fundraiser for their foundation that supports students attending the Mechanicsburg School District. Some of our state elected officials, I saw them there. And yes, we did the coldest night of the year. We did Night Without a Tax. And there's one thing that I just want to mention. Spotlight PA ran an article about Governor Shapiro and how he sued, right? He's suing the federal government to get money that belongs to Pennsylvania. And I know that there has been some discussion about some of those federal transportation dollars being released to PA. But the money that was set aside by the Biden administration for the new I-83 bridge has not been released. And boy, we were super excited for that money, and I'm very hopeful that it gets here. But when I read that article, I was like, oh man. And as a county, we worked very hard to stop the tolling of the 83 bridge. And our municipalities worked very hard to stop the tolling of the 83 bridge so that we could get a bridge, a new bridge, not on the backs of small business owners and residents. So I'll be keeping an eye on that and updating regularly. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Eichelberger.
Okay. Yeah, the I got an update from Annie. I was at the advisory board meeting last week. Obviously, their concerns are still centered on fiscal situation and particularly the uncertainty coming out of the federal government in regards to profit cuts. Medicaid, a very important funding source for most of their programs. We will have, of course, as Annie has told us many times, if those cuts take place, we're going to have a lot of fewer people who are receiving services, and they're going to be presenting themselves to the county offices for support, which, as we know, is something that's not a sustainable approach for us to take on. So high hopes, but high anxiety in terms of the Medicaid situation being resolved. We'll be watching that intensely, of course. So we are, of course, looking at another projected deficit on MH at this point. So moving events will impact the size or appearance of that deficit, but that is not a new situation, as we're all aware. So, Annie did mention that the Department of Human Services has a budget briefing scheduled March 4th at 10 a.m. They're going to be prepping intensely for that, hopefully getting some additional answers Let's see, Mark Evans did send me an update and I thought I printed it out, but I did not. Let's look that up real quick. On the IDD side, he says, well, they continue to manage the waiver capacity issue. You remember they received additional waivers and now they're building their system for implementing that, making sure that's handled in the best manner possible to deliver services. So there is a move toward a waiting list initiative, not yet resolved. Pretty much covers what he has, so I'll move on to Justin. We heard from him earlier regarding the household hazardous waste. There are a couple other things worth noting. I see that all of us received an update from him yesterday in response to my request about the meeting of municipalities and the yard waste program, which, as you may recall, the Hampton Township has expressed interest in forming a separate authority to manage that at the municipal level. That's been a complicated process. So the municipalities did have a meeting last week, and they are in the process of refashioning the memorandum of understanding that would govern that. The reason all this is relevant to us, of course, is because we retain control of the equipment, and they would like to have first dibs on that equipment. But we do have a need to divest that equipment in the relatively near future. So before it deteriorates, quite candidly, while it's still useful. So they are working on that. They're under instruction. The municipalities are under instruction to provide further comment by March 3rd. And then Hampton Township, which is the sponsor of the action, is projecting there'll be action on it by March 31 on a final decision. So they're trying to corral all of the municipalities into providing the information they need, providing the input that's needed. So, of course, he mentions that the revised draft will still have to go back to the municipalities for individual municipalities to approve. So that endpoint is out there. It seems to keep receding, but he assures me we are getting closer to resolution on that. So,
Commissioner, I think I had asked them to hopefully shoot for a June decision because we can't have this hanging out for yet another year. So I hope that that's the timeline.
I think we're at a point at which they are fish or cut bait. So if the municipalities come back and they can't resolve something, then we should absolutely be able to meet that June. If they demand more changes, we'll have to see what that would be if Hampton's willing to accommodate, or if we need to become more involved and reiterate that deadline, which could happen. We've seen this as happens when you have multiple municipalities involved. It is tough to get to a consensus sometimes, and this involves some real dollars for those municipalities that they had to spend more dollars than expected last year on the program because of the county's removal from it. So
justified removal from it. Nonetheless, yeah.
So, well, nonetheless, the results are the same for them. They had scrambles. So, it's just helpful to acknowledge that this did come at a cost to them. So, so June, I will make sure I touch base with them and let them know that that was raised again as an important point for them to conform to. Recall too that the electronics vendor for our electronics recycling program has opted out of renewal of the contract. So there were RFPs went out. The proposals are due back on March 7. And Justin says from what he's seeing in Penn bid, there's a good chance we're going to get bids from both manufacturer supported options as well as non-manufacturer supported proposals. And recall that what that means is if there is a manufacturer supported program, then the county cannot charge for that. The revenue comes from at a fixed amount from the manufacturers who essentially buy that equipment back for whatever use. So we will see what comes next, as it says in here. But that's certainly some decisions to be made out front on that, affecting our fees. So covered that. Let's see. I got an update from Annie Huff about Office of Aging. They have their 4-year plan still needs to be amended. However, that is fashioned by the federal rule update that is now sort of up in the air for reasons you can guess, because everything's up in the air at the federal level. And they have a lot more questions than answers right at this point. So they're trying to get timely responses to questions regarding the plan. And there has been an extension granted to them of October 1st. So at least they have some acknowledgement from the feds that this is disruptive to the implementation of the new 4-year plan. Let's see here. The rest of it was mostly about the housekeeping matters in terms of the advisory board and what they're going to need. That's actually somewhat hostage to the federal rule revision as well, in terms of the types of individuals they have to populate the advisory board with. So they're waiting to get more clarity before they can move on that. But that's far from the biggest issue they have to worry about. The only other 2 items I wanted to mention were, as was mentioned earlier, I attended the CREDA Economic Forecast Luncheon at the Penn Harris as well. That was a very nice session. That they had a speaker from the Federal Reserve office in Philadelphia, and a very interesting message in regards to the economic forecast. Certainly uncertainty rules there, especially the question of inflation, but it was a valuable session. It was, I think, quite an improvement over some of the speakers that I was accustomed to seeing from them in the past. So that is a testament, I think, to the job Ryan Unger's doing in right-sizing them toward a very different future. And I look forward to being in some more of their sessions. The only other thing I wanted to mention is we had a very good session here in an information session with Darby Gottlieb from probation in regards to some of their successes using their performance measurement system that's been in development the last couple of years. And I just wanted to mention, I think they've done a very good job, and they really are a model I think other departments can emulate. And I think it's a bit of a shame that we didn't actually have that session at a public meeting, like a Wednesday finance meeting, so that people could see, the great successes that adult probation is having there. They've made some, I think, significant progress in the ability to tell their story and justify what they're doing. So, and it feels like it's in very good hands. They're anticipating a lot of the questions, and I just thought it was a really superior session. Kind of a shame that it isn't out there for others to see.
I'm sure we can get it at a finance meeting. I'm sure they would love to come in and show off what they've done. That would, that would be the way to get this done. Susie, can we please get that on the agenda? Thank you.
And I agree wholeheartedly. They've done fantastic work. I think that the information sessions that have been established over the last year and into this year for the departments that had not previously been done have been a great way for us to get a better handle on the activities and know exactly what they're doing. So I am sure, as you say, Commissioner Fashi, that they would be delighted to present as well.
They used to present in finance meetings. I'm not sure why that changed, but that would be a particularly good one, I think. Success story there. So that's all I have in updates. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, that takes us into agenda item 23, which is report of executive sessions. And I would like to report that on February 20th, 2025 at 9:30 a.m., there was an executive session held regarding personnel. And now I'll ask if there's any other business to come before the board today.
Actually, there is, Stacy. I just wanted to make a comment based upon, some outstanding item. The solar project that was the subject of a recent news article is on hold until this board can evaluate if Commissioner Eichelberger's conduct tainted the fair and transparent process that was established by our planning department for the vetting of those prospective vendors. So people have been asking the status. It is currently on hold until we can explore that. So
I'll speak to that. And, as I stated in the article, I was unaware of the situation there until Mr. Stoner mentioned to me that in the past, there's an individual that I know who served as an investor. That in no way constitutes a conflict of interest for me because there's no financial payoff for me. But as I have often done in the past, I stated once this became, I became aware of the situation, that to avoid any appearance of impropriety, I would be abstaining. That is altogether proper and legal, and it did not need to affect the continuation of the vote unless you just have something personally against.
Gary, you
that
did not know how we were
individual.
voting. You had no idea how the vote was going. And
Well-
at that juncture, we had no idea if the process had been tainted because you abstained because you had a conflict.
That's
That
not what
you,
I said.
you
Yes, you
stated you had a relationship with an investor. That was captured in the meeting minutes and of which you approved yesterday at the finance meeting. That state you abstained due to having a professional relationship with one of the principal investors from Solar Renewable Energy.
That's true. That by definition is not a conflict of interest. If it was, then all of us would be abstaining on a lot of votes.
Gary, you know there's a process. If you believe there's a conflict, 2 years, you have been on this board for 21 years. You knew 2 years ago that you had a potential conflict when this same company was in before the board. And now you all of a sudden did not know you had a conflict within, and you participated in the other presentations. That was inappropriate.
That is not an
That-
accurate depiction at all. And it's even recounted in the article.
It's not recounted in
Miss-
the article, and now we've got the smoke and mirrors Gary Eichelberger game.
There
You
you
should
go.
have had the
Anything-
discussion before you walked into this board, into the meeting to play shock and awe games.
There's no shock at
Gary,
all.
every time you do something like this, there's something going on behind the scenes.
We had a
Every
meeting
time.
of the Creed
Gary,
board just the other day.
Every time.
And there
shock
were
and awe,
2 separate
every
instances
time.
of individuals choosing to abstain at the last
Gary,
minute.
we're talking about you,
Nobody
man.
told them.
You screwed
Of
this up.
course.
You have made the county look terrible. You have put our relationship with these 3 vendors in jeopardy. You've put this project in jeopardy. This project, that the day it goes live, saves
project-
this county money, and then you're getting something out of it. You're up to something.
I
This
get
is a
nothing out of
game.
it.
I have a conflict. I
Abstain.
don't have a conflict. I didn't talk to Scott Weiland. We didn't even know Scott Weiland was the issue until you went to Joe Cress with your
I
big
didn't
mouth.
go to Joe Press. Joe called me
Because you caused problems in a meeting.
because
are an
you caused
agent
problems.
of
An
chaos.
abstention is legal.
You did this.
Yes,
you
Abstention is
caused
legal.
this problem.
There's no
Shock and
conflict if
awe.
there's an abstention.
Surprise,
Okay.
surprise.
That's how most abstentions occur.
Heinz Doofenshmirtz. It's another innator. You
Abstentions?
just made a terminator for the county. Good job. Good job.
Excuse me, Jean.
This is insanity.
Abs-
This is the type of
abs-
insanity.
you are
I'm glad the
insane.
public can see this kind of insanity.
Abstentions
Thank you.
occur when you are looking at something that you were not involved in the process. A contract is presented, and I believe I may have to abstain because I may have a conflict. I certainly can abstain. I did not participate in the vetting of the contract. I did not participate. That is an appropriate use of an abstention, or if you do not have adequate information. You participated in a process, and we need to understand if that was tainted because in the 11th hour, you claim you have a conflict because of a relationship that should have been known.
Again, I did not say I had a conflict. I said, I'm concerned about the appearance.
That's not what you said. That is not what you said. You said, and I
Show the world
quote,
what a loon you
I
are.
am
Go
going
ahead.
to abstain on this cause I have a professional relationship
Yes.
with one of the principal investors at SRE. Dude,
Maybe.
dude.
No, not may.
You
And by
didn't
the
say
way,
May.
he is
That's
not.
what you said.
He is not.
That's what you did.
So as a courtesy,
Oh, my God.
Well, because
Commissioner.
you guys are experts in courtesy, aren't you? So,
I know, change the
yes,
subject,
as a
Gary.
matter of fact,
right.
Gary, you gotta lead. What you did was not leadership. You.
Gee, that's
Abstaining.
you're barking up the wrong tree.
Abstaining to avoid a conflict of interest is legal and
That's
proper.
not what you said, and you should
Yes,
have
and
let
you
us
should
know
have
ahead of
abstained
time.
from the discussion and the vetting of the of the candidates that were being, the vendors that were
And
presenting.
if you had,
If you believe you had a conflict.
belief, you should never have been part of any of the
It's a
discussion.
shame that
with us
sheriff's
or any
deputies
agreement.
now have to get called here
Because you
because of.
called them. You were like, I'm gonna need
I
you to be
called
at this
them?
meeting. No, you've done that before.
I have
Okay,
never,
totally
not
said that.
once, not once.
So, Commissioner,
You
there
set
is a
that up.
process for clearing a conflict. You did not follow any process. You did not have the courtesy of informing anyone in this process of your believed conflict until the 11th hour. That's
It's not a
problematic.
believed conflict. I said, I am doing this because of a possibility, and
That's not
candidly,
what you
I did
said.
because I knew you guys would try to spin it as a conflict. So you just remove the issue.
You caused your
You
own
remove
problem.
the issue. It's
You-
not- There's
you
no
did.
problem. You had 2 votes to whoever you
Oh
wanted
my
to vote.
goodness, Gary.
If you were uncomfortable with
caused the
green groups,
problem.
then
You
shift to
set
the other.
Something up behind the scenes. That is my professional
So-
opinion.
You mean like you keep
Set
trying to
something
shove
up
legal
behind
contracts to your
the
husband's
scenes.
law firm?
I've already told everyone that if an RFP went out to my husband's law firm, I have a conflict. I cannot participate in any of those
I haven't heard that
meetings.
once.
I've heard that.
Where
She is
where have
not-
you been, Gary?
Yeah,
Where have you
Gary,
been?
you've gone on
I'm
I'm not
record.
present at those closed door meetings back in your office.
I know,
So
because there's
yours-
tons of them.
You're assuming
Hey,
that
Gary,
there was
You
a,
pay so much attention to me. It is unbelievable.
I don't even
do
respond to
believe-
your emails anymore. I don't even read your emails anymore.
I don't care. It's because he doesn't, I don't
Because
care.
they're
'Cause you
childish.
don't
They
do
are
your work.
childish in
you don't
nature.
show up, you're not here,
What
you're
are
not
you talking
engaged.
about?
Your 2.5 days that 2 half days, actually, 20 hours maybe, show up, do the work.
I do my
engage
reading at home
properly.
because of the childish and toxic atmosphere you 2 have created in this office.
And that is why we've been able to retain staff
Please,
with your absence.
please.
So we are further investigating this situation, and I apologize to the planning department that put an incredible, and our facilities department that have put an incredibly, a lot of work and heavy lift into this solar project that has yet to be determined if we can appropriately move forward. That is all that will be said.
Well, let me update you on it.
No, the meeting is.
You asked for input. You asked for